The quantum burst detector at SETI's Mauna Kea facility registered the anomaly at 3:47 a.m. Hawaiian time. Within minutes, similar readings flooded in from observatories worldwide. Dr. Rachel Santos watched her holographic display light up with incoming data streams, her dark eyes reflecting the cascade of numbers that defied every known law of physics. "This isn't background radiation," she muttered, fingers flying across the haptic interface. "This is deliberate." The signal pattern repeated every 12 seconds, perfect mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. As she began running analysis protocols, her secure line buzzed. "General Michael Chen, Earth Defense Coalition." "Dr. Santos." His voice was tight, controlled. "I assume you're seeing this." "Yes, sir." The signal's structured. "They want us to notice them." "They?" Before she could respond, the quantum signatures intensified. The air in her lab crackled with static electricity. Emergency systems blared as reality itself seemed to bend, forming a swirling vortex of iridescent energy that hurt her eyes to look at directly. From this impossible tear in space emerged beings that defied description. Their bodies seemed to be composed of living crystal and dark energy, pulsing with internal light that cast prismatic shadows across the lab's sterile walls. They stood 9 feet tall, their forms constantly shifting like liquid geometry. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the tallest one spoke, its voice resonating directly in Rachel's mind. "We are the Verax Collective. We have come to test your species' right to exist." Security teams burst through the doors, weapons raised, but Rachel held up her hand. "Wait." The crystalline beings showed no reaction to the threat, their forms continuing their hypnotic dance of light and shadow. "Your species has reached a critical junction," the Verax continued. "You have begun to harness quantum technologies. Soon you will discover faster than light travel. The galaxy cannot risk allowing an unproven species such power." General Chen's voice crackled through the lab's speakers. "We mean you no harm. We seek peaceful." "Peace is earned through strength," the being interrupted. "For 50,000 years, we have tested emerging civilizations. Those who pass are welcomed into the galactic community. Those who fail cease to be." Rachel's mind raced through the implications. And how do we prove ourselves? The crystalline entity's form shifted, creating what might have been an approximation of a smile. "Through combat. One champion from your world against one of ours. Should your champion prevail, humanity will be deemed worthy. Should they fail, and if we refuse," General Chen demanded, "then your species will be deemed unworthy by default, and we will cleanse this sector of space." The being's form pulsed with dark energy. "You have 60 of your Earth days to prepare your champion. Choose wisely." The security teams tensed as the being extended what might have been an arm, materializing a small crystalline device that floated toward Rachel. She caught it carefully. "This contains the coordinates for the combat arena and the rules of engagement. Study them well." The being's form began to dissolve into quantum particles. "Remember, humans, this is not merely about victory or defeat. It is about proving your species' fundamental right to exist among the stars." As the Verax disappeared in a flash of light that overloaded every sensor in the facility, Rachel clutched the crystal device, its cool surface pulsing against her palm like a heartbeat. General Chen's voice broke the stunned silence. "Dr. Santos, get me everything you can from that device. I need to contact the Security Council." He paused. "And Rachel, let's keep this quiet as long as we can. The last thing we need is global panic." But as Rachel began analyzing the alien artifact, she knew keeping this secret wouldn't be possible for long. Humanity had just been challenged to the ultimate fight, one that would determine not just their fate, but their very right to exist. Looking at the preliminary data streaming across her screens, she felt a chill run down her spine. The Verax weren't just testing their combat capabilities. They were testing their worthiness to exist as a species. And somehow, in just 60 days, they needed to find a champion who could prove humanity deserved its place among the stars. The quantum burst detector continued its steady ping, now recording the aftershocks of the Verax's departure. But to Rachel, it sounded like a countdown, 60 days to prepare for a fight that would determine the future of human civilization. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Dr. Elena Chen stood before a wall of holographic displays, each showing different aspects of what might be humanity's last hope. The air hummed with the sound of quantum processors and experimental machinery. The neural interface is stable, but we're still seeing rejection issues in the simulation, she announced to the assembled team. Her hands moved through the holographic data, manipulating complex biomechanical schematics. The human nervous system wasn't designed to handle this kind of load. Major James Harper watched from the observation deck, his cybernetic eye whirring as it analyzed the data streams. A veteran of 3 wars, he'd seen every combat enhancement system the military had developed. None came close to what they were attempting here. "We're thinking about this wrong," he said, descending to the main floor. "We keep trying to force the technology to conform to human limitations. Maybe we need to let the human adapt to the technology instead." Elena turned to him, her expression skeptical. "You're talking about forcing accelerated evolution. The risks of failure are extinction," James interrupted, his cybernetic eye glowing faintly. The Verax made that pretty clear. He approached the central testing chamber, where a prototype of the Atlas system hung suspended in a field of quantum energy. It looked like liquid metal, constantly shifting and flowing, waiting to bond with its pilot. "Show me the latest test results," he commanded. The holographic displays shifted, showing footage of previous attempts. Test pilots screaming as their nervous systems overloaded. Quantum fields collapsing. Metal turning to slag. "The problem isn't the technology," Elena said, pulling up more data. "The quantum neural interface works perfectly in simulation, but the human brain can't process the sensory input fast enough. It's like trying to run modern quantum software on ancient silicon computers." James studied the failed test footage, his cybernetic eye recording every detail. "What if we didn't try to process it all consciously? The human body already handles millions of processes unconsciously: breathing, heartbeat, balance. What if we let the Atlas system integrate at that level?" Elena's fingers flew across the holographic controls, running new simulations. That might actually work. Instead of trying to consciously control the system, the pilot would essentially become one with it. Like learning to walk or ride a bike. Once mastered, it becomes instinctive. "Exactly," James nodded. "But we'd need someone with exceptional neural plasticity, someone whose brain can adapt quickly to new patterns, and someone with enough combat experience to make those patterns useful," Elena added. She pulled up a new file, one marked with the highest security classifications. "I think I know who we need." The holographic display showed a woman in her early 30s, with dark skin and eyes that seemed to look right through you. Captain Sarah Martinez, Special Operations Command. Her service record was heavily redacted, but what remained painted a picture of someone who had repeatedly done the impossible. "Her neural scans are off the charts," Elena explained. "She has a rare genetic mutation that makes her brain incredibly adaptable to new situations. And her combat record." "I know her," James interrupted, his cybernetic eye focusing on the image. "She was in my unit during the Jakarta crisis. I've never seen anyone adapt to changing combat situations faster." Elena ran a quick simulation, overlaying Sarah's neural patterns with the Atlas system's quantum interface. The results made her catch her breath. "Look at this compatibility rating. It's like the system was designed for her. Or she was designed for it," James muttered. He turned to Elena. "How soon can we have her here?" Elena checked her quantum tablet. "She's already on her way. General Chen authorized her transfer as soon as we identified her as a potential candidate. She'll be here in 3 hours." James studied the holographic image of Sarah, remembering the soldier he'd served with. "Let's hope she's ready for this. We're not just asking her to risk her life. We're asking her to evolve beyond human limitations. And if she can't? Elena asked quietly. James's cybernetic eye dimmed slightly. Then we'd better hope someone else can. We have 53 days left to turn a human being into something that can fight a creature made of living crystal and dark energy. The Atlas prototype continued its hypnotic flow in the testing chamber, its quantum field pulsing like a heartbeat. Soon, they would attempt to merge this experimental technology with a human being, hoping to create something new, something that could stand against the Verax and prove humanity's worth. As Elena began preparing the systems for Sarah's arrival, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to cross a line that humanity could never uncross. But with extinction as the alternative, did they have any choice? James seemed to read her thoughts. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, Elena. We're fighting for our right to exist. The Verax want to see if we're worthy of the stars. Let's show them what humanity can really do. The facility's quantum cores hummed in harmony, powering systems that pushed the boundaries of known science. In less than 3 hours, they would begin an experiment that could either save humanity or destroy their champion. The countdown to humanity's greatest test continued, relentless and unforgiving. Captain Sarah Martinez stood before the quantum chamber, watching the liquid metal dance within its containment field. Her reflection in the reinforced glass showed no fear, only intense focus. Behind her, Dr. Elena Chen and Major Harper monitored a wall of holographic readouts. The system will attempt to bond with your nervous system, Elena explained, adjusting controls on her quantum interface. Every person who's tried this has experienced intense discomfort. You mean pain, Sarah said flatly, not turning away from the chamber. I read the files. 3 test pilots in critical condition, 1 in a coma. They fought it, James interjected, his cybernetic eye scanning her vital signs. Tried to control it. That's not what we need from you. Sarah nodded slowly. You need me to surrender to it. To merge with it, Elena corrected. Like learning to swim. The moment you stop fighting the water is the moment you start floating. The chamber door hissed open. Sarah stepped inside, the air crackling with quantum energy. She wore a simple gray bodysuit lined with neural sensors. Her dark skin seemed to shimmer under the chamber's ethereal light. Beginning quantum field initialization, Elena's voice came through the speakers. Remember, don't try to control it. Let it flow through you. The liquid metal began to move, rising from its containment pool like mercury defying gravity. Sarah's heart rate remained steady as it approached her, her mind clear and focused. The first drop touched her hand. Pain exploded through her nervous system. Her vision filled with impossible colors as quantum data flooded her consciousness. She heard Elena's voice, distant and distorted. Her neural patterns are spiking. Should we abort? Wait, James commanded. Look at her face. Sarah wasn't screaming. Her eyes were closed, her expression serene despite the agony coursing through her body. The liquid metal continued to flow over her skin, seeking connection points with her nervous system. In Sarah's mind, reality fractured and reformed. She saw patterns within patterns, the quantum nature of existence laid bare. The pain was still there, but it was becoming something else. Information. Her consciousness expanded, touching the edges of what was possible. Remarkable. Elena breathed, watching the readings. She's not just accepting the interface, she's adapting to it in real time. Neuroplasticity off the charts. The liquid metal had covered Sarah completely now, forming a second skin that shifted and flowed with her movements. Her eyes opened, now glowing with the same quantum energy that powered the system. How do you feel? James asked carefully. Sarah lifted her hand, watching the metal ripple and flow. I feel everything. The quantum field, the electromagnetic spectrum, the movement of particles in the air. She turned to face them, her movements impossibly fluid. It's beautiful. Try to form a simple construct, Elena suggested. Something basic. Sarah focused, and the metal along her arm shifted, flowing into the shape of a blade, then a shield, then back to its fluid state. Each transformation was smooth, natural, as if the metal was an extension of her own body. "The neural load should be overwhelming you," Elena said, checking her readings. "But you're surfing it somehow, using the overflow to enhance your processing speed." Because she's not fighting it, James realized. She's becoming it. Sarah moved through the chamber, testing her new capabilities. The metal responded to her thoughts before she even completed them. Anticipating her needs, she jumped, and the suit formed thrust vectors, letting her hover effortlessly. "This is just the beginning," Elena said, pulling up training protocols. "We need to see how you handle combat simulations, environmental stresses, quantum field manipulation." "No," Sarah interrupted, landing gracefully. "First, I need to understand what I've become." "What we've become," she corrected, feeling the almost consciousness of the Atlas system interfacing with her mind. James nodded approvingly. "She's right. The Verax won't just be testing our combat capabilities. They want to see what we can evolve into." For the next 12 hours, Sarah explored her new abilities. She learned that the suit wasn't just a tool. It was becoming a part of her, learning and growing with each passing moment. The pain faded as her nervous system adapted, replaced by a sense of connection she'd never experienced before. "Your brain is creating new neural pathways," Elena explained, monitoring the changes. "The suit is actually helping you evolve, pushing your consciousness beyond normal human limits." Sarah stood in the center of the chamber, feeling the quantum energy flow through her. "How long until the Verax arrive?" 47 days, James answered. She nodded, watching the metal ripple across her skin like living quicksilver. "Then let's see what else this system can do, what we can become together." The training began in earnest. Sarah pushed herself and the Atlas system to their limits and beyond, preparing for a battle that would determine humanity's fate. But as she merged more deeply with the quantum technology, one question lingered in her mind. When the time came to face the Verax champion, would she still be human enough to represent her species? The answer, she suspected, would define not just her fate, but the future of humanity itself. The discovery came 30 days before the scheduled combat. Dr. Rachel Santos had been studying the crystalline device left by the Verax when she noticed something embedded deep within its quantum structure, data fragments from previous challenges. "Look at this," she called to Elena and James, who had been monitoring Sarah's latest training session. The holographic display exploded with information, showing glimpses of other civilizations that had faced the Verax test. "There were others," Elena breathed, scanning the data. "Hundreds of them. Some survived, but most failed," Sarah finished, entering the lab still wearing the Atlas system, which had become like a second skin. The liquid metal rippled with her movements, reflecting the holographic lights. "Show me." The displays shifted, revealing images of alien champions facing Verax warriors. Each battle was different, but they all ended the same way, with the crystalline beings adapting to overcome whatever strategy their opponents employed. "They're not just testing us," James realized, his cybernetic eye processing the patterns. "They're learning from every challenge, evolving." Rachel nodded grimly. "The Verax aren't just judges. They're the ultimate evolutionary force in the galaxy. They push each species to its absolute limit, forcing them to either transcend their limitations or face extinction." Sarah studied the combat footage intently. "Look at how they fight. Every movement is perfect, calculated. They don't just adapt during battle. They predict how their opponents will evolve and counter it before it happens. Which means they've probably already predicted how you'll use the Atlas system," Elena said quietly. "They've seen combat suits before. They've beaten them before." But Sarah was smiling, a dangerous glint in her quantum-enhanced eyes. "No, they've seen combat suits that try to make humans stronger, faster, more resilient. That's not what Atlas is." She stepped into the center of the lab, and the liquid metal began to flow and shift. not into weapons or armor, but into abstract forms that seemed to bend reality itself. We're not trying to beat them at their own game. We're creating something entirely new. The team watched in amazement as Sarah demonstrated what she and Atlas had become. The boundary between human and machine had blurred completely. Every movement was both precisely calculated and utterly unpredictable, guided by both quantum computing and human intuition. "Your neural patterns," Elena gasped, checking the readings. "They're not just enhanced. They're fundamentally different. You're thinking in ways that shouldn't be possible for a human brain." "Because I'm not just human anymore," Sarah said. "And I'm not just a machine. I'm something else, something they've never seen before." James approached her, studying her with both his human eye and cybernetic one. "You've gone beyond what we designed Atlas to do. You're not just using the system. You're evolving with it." Rachel pulled up more data from the Verax device. "There's something else. Look at the success patterns. The few species that survived their challenge. They didn't win by being stronger or more advanced. They won by being unpredictable," Sarah finished, understanding dawning in her quantum-enhanced consciousness, by showing the Verax something truly new. That's the real test, not combat prowess, but the ability to evolve in unexpected ways. The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. The Verax weren't looking for the strongest species. They were looking for those with the potential to contribute something unique to the galaxy's evolution. 29 days, Elena said softly. 29 days to prepare for a test that's about more than just fighting. Sarah nodded, the liquid metal of Atlas flowing like quicksilver around her. "Then let's show them something they've never seen before. Something that combines the best of human unpredictability with quantum evolution." As the team returned to their preparations with renewed purpose, Sarah stood before the holographic displays showing the failed challenges of countless civilizations. The Atlas system pulsed with her heartbeat, their combined consciousness processing possibilities that neither human nor machine could conceive alone. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their ability to fight, but in their ability to become something more than anyone, even the Verax, could predict. The final countdown to humanity's greatest test had begun, and in the quantum-enhanced mind of Sarah Martinez, a plan was forming, one that would either prove humanity's worth or condemn them to extinction. The combat arena materialized in Earth's orbit exactly as the Verax had promised. It was a massive structure of living crystal and dark energy, its geometry defying human understanding. Inside, Sarah Martinez stood ready, the Atlas system flowing around her like liquid starlight. The Verax champion emerged from a quantum portal, a being of pure crystalline energy that towered 15 feet tall. Its form shifted constantly, each movement creating cascading patterns of light and shadow. "Human champion," its voice resonated directly in Sarah's mind. "You face Nexus Prime, undefeated in 10,000 cycles. Prepare for evolution's judgment." Sarah didn't respond with words. Instead, she let Atlas flow, her consciousness expanding into the quantum field that permeated the arena. The Verax champion's form pulsed with what might have been surprise. The battle began. Nexus Prime struck first, its crystalline form launching shards of dark energy that could shred matter at the quantum level. But Sarah wasn't where the attacks landed. She wasn't entirely anywhere. Atlas had helped her evolve beyond simple physical space. "Impossible," Nexus Prime resonated. "Your quantum state." Sarah moved, and reality bent around her. Atlas wasn't just a combat suit anymore. It was an extension of human consciousness into the quantum realm. Every motion was both calculated and instinctive, planned, and spontaneous. The Verax champion adapted, its crystalline form shifting to match her quantum state. But Sarah had already changed again, flowing like mercury through possibilities that even the Verax hadn't imagined. "You think differently," Nexus Prime observed, launching another attack. "Your patterns are chaotic." "We're human," Sarah responded, her voice carrying both through air and quantum field. Chaos is in our nature, she demonstrated, letting Atlas flow into forms that shouldn't exist, combinations of organic and quantum states that defied prediction. The Verax champion's attacks became increasingly desperate as it tried to analyze and counter her movements. But there was nothing to counter. Sarah and Atlas had become something entirely new, not a weapon or a tool, but an expression of humanity's potential to evolve beyond their limits while remaining fundamentally human. Back on Earth, Elena, James, and Rachel watched through quantum feeds, their instruments struggling to process what they were seeing. "She's not just fighting," Elena whispered. "She's showing them who we are." The battle reached its crescendo. Nexus Prime, frustrated by its inability to predict or counter Sarah's movements, gathered its power for one final attack. The arena itself seemed to bend as the Verax champion channeled enough energy to shatter a planet. Sarah stood her ground. As the wave of destructive energy approached, Atlas flowed and shifted, not into shields or barriers, but into something else, a form that could channel and redirect energy at the quantum level. The attack struck, and for a moment, everything stopped. Then, impossibly, the energy began to flow around Sarah, through her, transformed by her unique fusion of human consciousness and quantum technology. "You understand," Nexus Prime said suddenly, its form stabilizing. "This was never about combat." Sarah nodded, letting the transformed energy dissipate harmlessly. "It was about evolution, about proving we could become something new without losing what makes us human." The Verax champion's form shifted into a more ceremonial configuration. In 10,000 cycles, no species has demonstrated such potential. They either clung to their limitations or abandoned their nature entirely. You have done neither. The arena filled with light as more Verax materialized, the High Council watching and judging. Sarah stood before them, Atlas flowing around her like stardust, a testament to what humanity could become. "Humanity has proven worthy," Nexus Prime announced, "not through strength or technology alone, but through their unique ability to evolve while maintaining their essential nature. The galaxy welcomes you." As the declaration echoed through quantum space, Sarah felt Atlas pulse with shared triumph. They had done it, not by becoming something inhuman, but by showing that humanity's greatest strength was their ability to grow, adapt, and evolve while remaining true to themselves. The Verax High Council surrounded her, their crystalline forms creating a gateway back to Earth. "Go," Nexus Prime said. "Show your people what they can become. The stars await." Sarah stepped through the portal, emerging in the facility where it had all begun. Elena, James, and Rachel rushed to meet her as Atlas flowed like quicksilver around her form. "We did it," she said simply, looking at her team, her family. "We showed them what humanity really is." Above them, the stars seemed to shine brighter, no longer distant and unreachable, but full of possibilities. Humanity had proven their worth not by conquering or dominating, but by showing the galaxy something it had never seen before, the unique human ability to evolve beyond their limits while keeping their humanity intact. The future was waiting, and it was full of stars.